Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mix Tank Live. My name is Mark Abrams, and on Mondays, every other Monday, I am jumping on to YouTube and taking over Mix Tank off of Puremix. So Mix Tank, for anybody who's not familiar, is a sort of think tank or a mastermind group, if you will, of all the Puremix Pro members that are part of the community where you can upload your mix and get feedback on it in real time, pretty much. So people will drop their comments and then you can kind of take their feedback and do what you will with it. On every other Monday, it really is real time because I listen to the mixes and then comment on them right after. So if you're a pro member and you're watching and you want to submit your mix, there's still time to get it in. Just go to puremix.net, log in, go to Mixtank, put your mix in there. So a couple housekeeping things before we get started here for the pro members. Last Friday, if you missed it, we released a new video with Andrew Sheps called Compression Typology. And in that video, Andrew breaks down the differences between VCA compressors, FET compressors, delta mu or vari-mu compressors, and basically goes through all the different controls with each of them. He explains feedback and feed forward compression, which is one of the best explanations I've seen of it anywhere, and it's super helpful. And then he goes and he does some examples and gives his thoughts on what each one of those is doing. Well, you get to hear that as well and internalize it for your next mix. Now, this Friday, we have something super huge, and this is something that I've been excited about for quite a while. We have the first video coming from Michael Brauer. So for anybody who doesn't know Michael, he's mixed Coldplay songs that are in the billions, literally, of streams on Spotify and are, worldwide smashes. So Yellow, the Parachutes record, X and Y, Viva La Vida, all of those among like so many other just hit songs. He got his start early in New York City, doing Aretha Franklin records and even Sesame Street work as well. Some of the like classic Sesame Street songs were engineered by Michael. And the concept of this video is Michael is finally unfolding the exact method that he uses for what he calls Browerizing. So Browerizing has been this sort of hot topic in forums in the community for, as far as I remember, at least about 20 years. Because I remember the first time I heard about it, it was about 2005 or 6. And I was working at a post-production house. I hadn't quite I'd been making records, but I wasn't doing music full time. I was just kind of doing all sorts of audio stuff. And my friend and I at this post-production company were checking out the new Coldplay record. I think it was X and Y at the time. And we were kind of like dumbfounded at the mixes. And we started looking into like, who mixed this record? It sounds amazing. And we were like swapping ideas on how some of the stuff was done. And we found out it was Michael Brauer, and we heard about this Brauerized thing. So Brauerizing is this form of multi-bus compression. So basically he has 4 buses, and this was all done analog on an SSL, where it had 4 separate stereo buses, and he would send certain elements to each one. Some of them would go to 2, and each one of those had different compressors and different processing on them, and then all of that would be summed together in the end, and it came up with this really cool sound that a lot of us were chasing. So we're going through forums and digging in and trying to figure out how we can do this. Of course, we're poor, just out of college, and trying to figure out how do we do this in the box. And every time that topic would come up, somebody would say it's not possible due to delay compensation or other in-the-box restrictions. And at that time, we really didn't have great sounding analog plugins like we do now with all the UAD stuff and some of the Slate stuff and Waves and all those guys that have done a great job of modeling analog processors since then. So basically in this video, Michael gives the entire backstory of how he found the technique in the first place, and then how he's developed it over the years. And then as times have changed, how he's gone from being fully 100% analog to being hybrid to now being 100% in the box doing his Brauerized technique. So after he kind of explains all that, they open the template that he has now and they explain every single part of it, how to use it. And then he gives an example where he actually mixes a song through it. But at the end of it, you get to download his actual his template, which I would have done a lot of things for back in 2006 when we were trying to figure this out. So it's pretty cool. And to kind of give like a little bit of overview and like how much the audio community has been going after this for so long. If you do a simple Google search, which can't quite see that on my screen. There we go. If you just kind of like search down, you see all these things where people have tried to recreate it. They've created articles. This one goes back to 2014 about how to do it in the box. And all these different people, like YouTube searches will show you like tons of videos of people trying to recreate it. And there's like more images. This one looks like it's from archaic times. And then he has done a couple tape op, interviews where he talked about it. So people would kind of go through it. And I even found things like, this is an entire blog article that was written on how to do it. This was somebody's research project for their bachelor program when they were graduating. And, if we do like a simple image search, people have all these flow charts of the signal flow for it, which gets pretty complex. But as Michael was going through this video, he was explaining that like he's gone through and read all of these articles, and he's always found something in the lines where he didn't feel like it quite nailed it. So this is going to be the definitive guide to Browerizing, which is actually now a copyrighted term. And if you go to Michael Brauer's site, there's a Q&A section. So it's just mbrower.com. But there's a Q&A section where he talks a lot about his philosophy. There's some other great things, what his opinion of what it takes to be a great intern is on there, and parallel compression. He does a lot of interesting things with parallel compression, especially on lead vocals from the video. And there's a whole lot of information on there. So instead of breaking down a song that I like today, what I would suggest is go listen to some of Michael's past work and internalize some of the sounds of his records. So a great place to start is Parachutes from Coldplay, as well as X and Y and Viva La Vida. He says in the video that he feels like the best demonstration of his multiple vocal parallel chain is in Parachutes. And specifically, I thought that was really shown on Trouble, on the song Trouble. So I go check that out and see what you think of it. And then that video will be out on Friday, and you can download his template and do what you will with it. A lot of these things, it's good to remember these are great learning tools, and you learn the techniques that somebody else had or their approach to it, and then you take the bits and pieces that make sense for you and you apply them to your work. So big video on Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Next week starts our fall sale as well. So if you want to get your Puremix membership renewed, or if you want to join, next week we'll begin our fall sale. So that'll be a good time to do it. All right. Without further ado, let's jump into Mixtank. So if you haven't seen it before, this is Mixtank. Over on the left, we have a bunch of submissions from different pro members. In the center, we have a timeline, and you can think of this sort of like a SoundCloud timeline. If I drop a comment at a certain time, it'll be timestamped. And, I could say like, turn the vocal up here or turn the drums down, whatever. And that would be timestamped on the timeline. Over on the right, we have some information from the user about the mix. So for example, on this one, it's from the user Navy Colt. He's a semi-pro. It says Never a Goodbye is the name of the song. And then he says, I'd love to hear some thoughts and critiques on this mix. It's from an album we released earlier this year. I'm always trying to learn and grow in the recording and mixing side of things. I recorded and mixed the album and would love to hear some feedback from fellow audio junkies. We have a few of those here, so we can do that. All right, so we're going to actually just go ahead and start with this track. And as we go here, if you are in the live chat, I've been trying to get to everybody who makes the effort to show up to these live streams. So please drop just a comment on YouTube and let me know that you're here. Let me know the name of your song and the username, and then we'll try to get to it before the end of the stream. In the meantime, I have this draw a track button up here, which just randomizes the tracks for me and gives me a random one so I can listen to that. So if I don't have somebody in the live stream in the chat, then I'll do the draw a track thing and we'll randomize it to keep it fair. So let's jump in. Here we go. you trolling me, Navy Colt? You don't need feedback. There's barely anything to comment on this. I have one main thing, and maybe some other stuff, but this sounds fantastic. Great job. The biggest thing that I have for it is on the chorus, the mid range and the instruments and everything is a little sharp and kind of just overpowering the vocal a little bit. So it just kind of like, it's a little too much mid range, little ear fatiguing, and it just kind of starts masking the vocal. So you could either carve out some space with an EQ on like the organ and the guitars and stuff, somewhere, like 800 up to 4K, somewhere in there, just kind of playing around with things and finding out where the vocal's sitting and then removing some of the information from those other instruments. It could have also just been boosted a little too much on the instrumental. But it's very exciting, so I wouldn't go too far with it. You might even be able to just solve it with some automation. That was the biggest thing, and if it didn't do that, I'd have almost nothing to say. That's really kind of it. But everything sounds really good. It's just about letting the right players step forward when they need to. So, for example, like the slide guitar that does the counter melody coming in after the vocal in those breaks, that guy could use a little more space by everybody else kind of stepping back, pulling those faders down just a little bit, unlike the organ and the other guitars. Not a ton, just like a hair, and just playing the mix a little bit more with some fader automation. But this sounds absolutely fantastic. The vocal entrance on the verses, because he's kind of doing like a pickup note into the one, I would bring the vocal up for those first couple words, and it might be solved, even maybe not by bringing the vocal up, but by bringing the other guys back down a little bit. But yeah, the vocal is very important on this song. Great voice, and I get that the vibe, based on the decisions that you made, isn't to make the vocal be out way in front. But I think it's getting stepped on by some other instruments here and there. So that would be the biggest thing. The only other comments I wrote was like, maybe the snare could use a little bit more crack. A little bit of like 4K is awesome on that. Just to brighten it up a hair and bring it forward just a smidge, but not overdoing it. I thought about saying something about the kick drum, but honestly, it fit the track and it was punchy. I could still like feel it. And then the cymbals felt like they could be a touch bright on it overall. I think if you brought some of those other instruments down, the cymbals would kind of be poking forward a little bit too, so they would need just a little bit of adjustment. And that's all I got. That was awesome. Great job. Let me see how the chat's doing. Hey, Karen, Alexander, awesome. Lack of Gravity. Cool, you guys are here. I see you got some mixes ready for me. Awesome. Oh yeah, Primetime said a bit sharp in the chorus. There you go. Yeah, and make sure, everybody, that you check the comments in the chat, because they have some great feedback as well. This is a community effort for sure. So everybody that's in the chat has great things to say and just as valid as me. So keep an eye out for those. So, okay, I'm going to put a comment in here just saying I was here in case you're not. And then I'm going to head over to the chat here. And let's see who's got a song submitted. Okay, Eric Giordana has one. It's Eric Ah, it's his username. So let's go over here and search for him. Okay, awesome. Let's check it out. Here we go. My pleasure, David. Awesome job.
Nous dans la famille, on aime bien se réunir, les grandes tablées, les cascades de fou rire. Depuis petit, tu y étais baigné, les grandes fratries, toi le quatrième bébé. Avec Michel, vous vous êtes d'abord croisés et vous avez fini par vous rencontrer. Deux enfants du même quartier qui se sont aimés. Nous dans la famille, on aime se rappeler, on aime évoquer le passé. Te souviens-tu comment tu as appris à nager, les virées en tracteur l'été? JP du coup était le petit premier, très vite il a pointé le bout de son nez. Mais bientôt 4 autres petits pieds sont arrivés. souvenirs plein les valises, de Confaron, la Valette et Toulon, du HLM, de la carte postale. Déjà le nom n'était pas banal. Des souvenirs et des surprises que vous créerez, que vous ferez et que vous nous raconterez autour d'une grande tablée. Nous dans la famille, on aime bien s'entraider. On a toujours su comment se débrouiller. Tous les deux vous formiez un super duo complémentaire et tellement beau. La vie vous a mis sur la route de Monsieur Chat. Vous quittiez le port marchand pour vivre sur la promenade. Et comme vous aimez partager, maintenant c'est Domi et JP. Et dans la famille, on aime les belles causes et on aime aussi créer des choses. Tu nous as certainement transmis ton don, peinture, argile et poupées de chiffon. Avec Michel, vous nous avez transmis le sens de la solidarité aussi. Te rappelles-tu quand papa était chauffeur pour les jeunes du foyer? Des souvenirs plein les valises, de Confaron, la Valette et Toulon, du HLM, de la carte postale. Déjà le nom n'était pas banal. Des souvenirs et des surprises que vous créerez, que vous ferez et que vous nous raconterez autour d'une grande tablée. HLM, de la carte postale. Déjà le nom n'était pas banal. Des souvenirs et des surprises que vous créerez, que vous ferez et que vous nous raconterez autour d'une grande tablée et que vous nous raconterez. Que vous nous raconterez.
Is there a snake in here? I heard a rattlesnake. All right. Awesome job. Very cool. Thanks for being here as well. That's awesome. This is a really great track. So over on the right, you said, I've done the recording of the singer who had written the song. I played the instruments to mix the song. The song's very intimate, so the loud and dry vocals are intentional, French style. Thank you in advance, Eric. Awesome. Okay. So most of my comments revolve around the loud and dry vocals. So the first thing about them is that they feel a little bit overcompressed. And I get that you're going for loud, so it kind of makes sense that they would feel that way. But I feel like it's feeling a little bit boxy because of that. It's almost like smashing it into a range. So I would play with the compression a little bit and see maybe if you could achieve that with parallel compression instead of insert compression. Or at least a little less insert compression along with some parallel compression, and see if that clears up some of the boxy tone of it. If not, maybe just go in and just check out for some of the stuff that feels like a little bit more like it's kind of clouded up, like I sounded with a cold a couple weeks ago. So check some of that out. I see that you want them to be very dry too. My next thing was that maybe they could use some space. And the reason that I feel like that is because there's a clearly space around the snare drum, and that makes me feel like everybody's in a room. So, but like now they're not in the same room, or like they're a little disconnected because of that. And it could be possible that just doing some space on the choruses might feel good, and not necessarily a space that you hear. Like you don't need to do a giant chamber or reverb around it that is very audible, just something that gives it some space and some width. And it could be something that even lifts the chorus. just for feel, not necessarily for that reverb sound. The kick and snare relationship, the kick is very loud compared especially to the snare, but it's kind of loud overall. And it feels a touch thick and like it's being sustained potentially by some compression. So it feels like something is extending the note of that drum and just kind of dragging it out a little bit. I like long kick drums and stuff like that when they feel appropriate, and due to the pattern that he's playing, I think it does. I would just check out like the volume of it and try to make it marry to the snare a little bit more so they don't sound so disjointed. But this is all taste, and you're doing something very intentional, which I love with like the loud and dry vocals. So I think stick to your guns if you're really feeling that. And yeah, other than that, watch out for mouth clicks. Isotope mouth declick is like a one press fix for any of the like lip smacking stuff that happens in between phrases or after words. And then the low mid of the guitars makes them feel very close and intimate, which is cool. There might be a little bit of buildup, like just kind of masking and sustaining just, in some of the lower frequency stuff. So you might be able to clean some of that up while still keeping it warm. And if it gets too thin, obviously just leave them alone. But yeah, I thought it sounded great. Cool. I see a lot of mixes coming in. Hey, Marcos. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. A lot of good song. I think the bass and bass drum together give a peak around 63 hertz. Yeah, so it's very precise prime time. I love it. 63.2. Cool. And yeah, I'd say check it out. Check out the comments and all good. Thanks for being here. You're very welcome, Eric. Yeah, thanks for being here. That's awesome. Thanks for submitting. Okay, so let me go back to the chat here, and I'll put my little comment on here, even though you are here and you saw it. I just lost my note. Hold on. There we go. All right, let me put this in the comments. There we go. And let's go back over to YouTube for me. Hold on. This guy. All right, so next one. So we just got that one. Donnie Blaze. Hope you have a great day too. All right, let's see. Gord from Canada. My song is called The Band Is Killing Me. I got to hear that. Oh, This Band Is Killing Me. Okay. This Band Is Killing Me. I felt that way before. All right. From Gord. Awesome. Let's check it out. Here we go. Oh, let's talk about the notes here first. I'm going to hit HD, and then trying to fix problems pointed out to me, including less compression on drums, less compression and weird de-essing sound on vocals, fix some boxiness, and the horns are distorting at times. As usual, looking for more energy and more room in the fast parts. Thanks for your help. All right, let's go.
My strings and the sirens are here to sing. Yeah. Lay it
love the groove change.
His head turns right around. Heaven's music is sweet, man. They don't want your sound. Your heroes go to hell. That's where you'll fit in best. Give us your damaged soul and be our special guest. Come on down. Blowing on his heart. Wire cut from arm ignores my broken voice, and St. Peter offers me a choice. Thank you, Jesus. I think that band was killing me. Thank you, Jesus. I don't need that infamy. Thank you, Jesus. I think that band was killing me.
Awesome, Gord. Okay, right there. First comment. Feels like it fades out a little too soon, and I don't know if you were worried about the noise, so you were trying to get out a little bit quickly, but I'd make that a little bit more natural, and maybe I don't even know if you're on a grid on this because there's so many tempo changes and everything, but maybe try doing the more musical value on the fade. So maybe a bar or 2 bars or something like that might help out with it. But yeah, this is a really cool track. So only a couple comments. Sonic had some comments on here that I agree with mostly, that are worth checking out. Yeah, I'm sure that Tom has some really great comments on this too. So I had just a basic couple things, and the first one is the lisping on the vocal. I still hear some of that. Now, sometimes that isn't necessarily caused by a de-esser, and that's just what comes through the microphone. I've had that with different VO talent before, where sometimes they just have that sound, and that's what you're given. If that is the case, sometimes you can do some tricks to extend the S sound that you're given. It's kind of weird, and you have to be very careful with it. But you could try doing almost like a reverse dynamic EQ, so that it's actually bringing that up at the end of the words, or like whenever there's an S, it triggers something that's just kind of bringing up the top end on it. That can be pretty tricky, and it usually takes a lot of automation to actually make it work right, but it's kind of like an exciter on the S sound of the vocal. Even better yet, automation or like cutting and clip gain to just kind of bring some of that stuff up. That's assuming it's not coming from a de-esser. If it's coming from a de-esser, just loosen up the de-esser and you're going to be okay. Or like if you have dynamic EQ or multi-band compression or something that's causing that, just try to figure out where it's coming from, if it's in the source or if it's some of the processing that you're doing. The next thing I had is the LCR panning style that you're doing here. It feels very side heavy to me, so that, meaning like if these are the sides, my hands here, and then my head is the middle where like the vocal and the snare and the kick and everybody's going to live. The sides are here and all the other stuff is happening back here or whatever. So I would just kind of make that a little bit more even between the level of the sides and the level of the mid and the center of the track, trying to bring some of that stuff up. Now, going back to the LCR panning thing, the horn being far right and then the solo being far left and stuff like that, feels disconnected to me, especially because the center is recessed. So I would consider bringing some of that stuff in a little bit. I've kind of talked about this before. This is a trick that I stole from Dave Pensado's book. He talks about the rule of thirds in photography and how he took that concept and applied it to mixing. So, in going further than the rule of thirds, if you think about like from, the center to I guess this would be the right on your screen. So, instead of having like, there are two pan choices here, there's center and there's right, cutting that up into fourths and then being like, okay, well, like 25 is an option, 50 is an option, 75 is an option. And then kind of using those as starting places. And then same thing for the left side as well. That said, it's fun to break rules too. So if it sounds better at, 31, put it at 31. But it can help, to me, it helps balance out the stereo image without doing like a full LCR thing. LCR is a feel, it's a vibe. So if that's working out well for you and you dig it, then all of this is, of course, subjective. So on the fast parts, you had a comment that you are looking for more energy and more room in the fast parts. There is a long, loud reverb on the snare, and I feel like that's kind of slowing your groove down. So a lot of the stuff that we use, like time-based stuff and dynamic stuff, all affects groove. When you think about compression, we have attack and release time, and that's time. And we can completely change the groove of a track using those tools, right? So if I do something where I have like a slow attack, but a really long release, or a fast attack and a really long release, whatever, I can extend the note of an instrument, right? So if I'm doing that to my bass, or the kick drum, for example, like, and making those feel very long, I could end up messing up the groove of that because the drummer might be, hitting the drum in a way like, and tuning his drum in a way and just, packing full of blankets or whatever, that the note only lasts a certain amount of time. And if it's a faster song, you're going to want something a little bit shorter because you don't want the kick drum ringing over the next hit. You want to define the length of the note and then try to go for that. So in this case, going back to the snare and the reverb on it, it feels like a long sustained snare hit to me that like it's like a half note or it could even be a bar in there. I thought it was pretty long. And it's really loud. So that snare drum's being drug out and it feels like it's got a lot of length on it. If you think of like a fast punk rock thing, not that this is that in the chorus, but if you think of a fast punk rock thing, if you had a bunch of reverb on it, all of those notes would wash together and you wouldn't feel quick. That's why a lot of metal music doesn't necessarily have a lot of low end, because low end can slow things down. It takes longer for notes to decay and all of that. So if you shorten that stuff up, obviously like in metal, sometimes you have subhits and all that, but, listen to like old Metallica records or something. And it's all like very short, very quick notes. And that's because they're doing like speed things. You want to get the notes kind of out of the way of each other. So that's basically it. Just make sure that nothing you're doing with compression or anything is fighting against the groove that's happening. With a song like this, where you're changing grooves so much, you can use automation to your benefit to really accentuate all that stuff. Like when it slows down, you could try doing a longer snare reverb and like really accentuating the groove, kind of being a longer thing, and going into a separate reverb that's doing that, or changing the compression on the kick and all of that stuff, or using more low end on the verses and then bringing some of it back on the choruses to pick up the pace a little. These aren't extreme changes either. Like I'm not saying like dip out 10 dB of low end or something like that, but there's just little subtle things that you can do to help emphasize the groove and especially the changes in the song. But overall, I think it sounds really good. I think you're doing a great job on it. And I'm sure that like Tom and I would check out, it looks like you've already seen all their comments. So great job. I hope that helps, and good luck. I'd love to hear the song again. I think that we did this one before, or I've at least heard this song. But I remember it and I like the tune. So yeah. Great job. Awesome. Okay, let me check out the comments here and see what else we got. So our next one is going to be Wonderland from Jose. Okay, let me go back over to Mixtank. Wonderland. Lack of gravity. I'm guessing that you're Gord. You're very welcome. Awesome. Oh, nice. Primetime. You got another one in there. Great. Joffrey, I see you. Got it? Cool. All right. Here we go. Yeah, let me know if you find the same thing, Karen. I could be totally wrong on that. And you guys should let me know some tracks if I am. That'd be cool to hear. So, okay. And Wonderland. So, Jose, I'm not seeing your song. Let me try searching your name. Although your username's probably different, but let me just try. All right. So, Jose, let me know the song name again, and maybe your username, and I can find it. In the meantime, I'm going to move on. So this one's from Mariano and Se Termina el Dia. Sorry for my terrible pronunciation. Okay, this is a song from a band I'm a part of as one of the guitar players. It's the final and ended mix, but I like to know how you see it in general, mostly thinking on song dynamics, clarity, and low end work. Thanks, guys. Okay, here we go.
Tan frágil, soñé que encarnaba en algo y en el viaje me dormía. La cosa que más quería y el corazón frena.
All right. Awesome song. That's cool. Yeah. Great job. Thanks for submitting it. That's great. I dig the style and everything. And there's a lot of really good stuff going on here. You guys are a good band. So the biggest thing that jumps out to me, well, one, I like how you left room in the center for the vocals, and I didn't feel there's some things that we'll talk about, but I didn't feel like the guitars were covering up or masking the vocal at any point. So great job on that. Hold on to that. But overall, the entire thing feels like there's just a ton of compression going on. And I pulled up decibel while I was listening to it, and the dynamic range isn't necessarily like squashed down. It just feels like there's both a lot of like individual instrument compression and also some bus compression stuff going on. The bus compression stuff that I hear every time the kick hits, everything kind of flutters and ducks out. So if you were using, for example, a compressor like the UAD version of the SSL compressor, the Waves one doesn't have this, but the UAD one has a sidechain filter where you can filter out some of the low end from the sidechain so that when the kick hits, it's not going to make the entire mix go. That's my sound for, that fluttering thing. But I can kind of feel like when the kick hits, everybody goes, so that'd be worth checking out if you have a bus compressor that you can filter some of that high pass, or the high pass some of the sidechain. But also I would consider just releasing it a little bit, and then kind of forgetting about the bus compression altogether. The snare drum feels very long to me, again, from like a compression thing, and long snare drums are super cool, and I think it would fit the track well. Again, like watch timing for groove stuff, like the other track that we just heard. But the snare drum doesn't feel like it has any transient to me. So it's just kind of like all the transients being soaked up by a compressor, and it's not feeling like it's like punching necessarily. The vocal has a ton of compression on it, but it's kind of got a little bit of a slower attack on it. And what's happening is when the compressor kind of releases and then you say that first line with like a hard consonant, that consonant's very loud because the compressor doesn't grab it in time. So it kind of pokes out, and then the vocal goes really far down because the compressor's just grabbing it and sucking it down. So that feels a little bit over compressed as well. One thing you could try for that is maybe doing less insert compression, just kind of like getting it even. But then you could take a copy of that track, or you could bus it to another aux return and then do a super smashed vocal with it. I personally like Devil Lock Deluxe just on the factory default settings. Thank you, John Paterno, for that one. And letting that just pummel the vocal and then bringing it up and in. So not necessarily like a ton of distortion on it, just like a whole lot of compression. Or you could do that with like any compressor. You're just trying to like fast attack, long release, just trying to make a really, really like smash down package of that vocal, and then you bring that up into the dry vocal or drier vocal, and you kind of fill in the holes between the dynamics, if you will. So that'll give you a nice present vocal without giving you a bunch of the side effect stuff, as long as you keep the parallel down a little bit, that you can get from insert compression. So that might be something to give you a nice present vocal without the consonants jumping out from a slow attack and all of that stuff, and feeling like it's just kind of sucking the life out of it. Guitars also feel a little too overcompressed with a slow attack again, because you hear things like the pick attack is very loud, but then like the initial transient is loud, but then the sustain or the body of the guitar kind of gets sucked down a little bit. So that'd be something to look at too, just like how you're compressing those vocal or those guitars. Same with the bass, feels overcompressed. And a reason I say that is that if you listen to the bass guitar, the notes never get quieter. They just kind of stay like one volume, where the normal sustain of a bass guitar would be you have a lot of note and it would slowly get quieter as it goes on. And there's a lot of like sustained bass notes in here that felt like they were just one volume, not getting any quieter on it. You can also hear a lot of the compression stuff on the guitar solo. When he lets up from playing and then he goes to another note, there's a finger squeak and the compressor is released from the solo, and the finger squeak is really loud, and then he starts playing again and the compressor goes whoop, whatever. So making those squeaks kind of even louder. You can also hear the overheads pumping when the kick drum hits. It kind of does like a sort of thing along with the groove. My mouth noises. And then I would say, if you open up some of the compression and all that, those choruses should feel like they explode. And, using automation and balancing things out versus relying on so much compression to make things happen, I think is going to be your friend here. You have a really cool track. It sounds like things are recorded pretty well. I think the tone of everything is going to change if you loosen up some of that compression stuff. And my advice would be to, save what you have here and hang on to it. Do a save as, try taking all that stuff off and doing a from scratch thing where you just work on the balances a little bit more. And then compress things as needed. Not necessarily like just throwing a compressor on and looking for a certain amount of gain reduction. Not that I don't know that you did that, but, not looking for meters and stuff like that. Just look for things that are problems, like the vocal, first consonants are very loud and I want to make those even, then compress it to do so. But there's a lot of compression on here that feels like you could just kind of loosen things up and it's going to breathe and feel really great. The band's really good. The groove feels good. So yeah, let that stuff speak. And I don't think you're far off though. I think like if you play with some of that stuff, there's some other things that are going on in the mix that are really, really great. And you clearly know what you're doing. So it's just going to be like a playing with it kind of thing. Hope that helps. And thank you so much for submitting. Awesome. Let's see what else we got. So I'll go over to the comments here. And okay. That was Say Termina. So again, great comments going on YouTube here. And I'm sure like on Facebook and Twitch and everybody too. Hello to all of you guys as well, if you're watching. And let's find the next track here. Okay. Thomas Kramer. Okay. This is from Thomas Kramer, and it is called Adventureland. Cover featuring 6-year-old son. That's awesome. Okay. Cover version I produced of the track Adventureland by the German artist Puremix, with my 6-year-old son on the mic. All right, here we go. Let's check it out. Thanks for submitting. Awesome. I'm just going to check out the end here. It's a little bit of a long one, so just to be fair to everybody. That's awesome, Thomas. Very cool. I love that you had your son do this. That's really, really cool. Very, very good job. I don't know the original song, so I can't comment on things like arrangement or how the cover compares, like your production of it compares to the original one. And there's probably some cool, unique stuff that you've done here that might be lost on me. So we should all go check out that song to hear that. Very cool that you had your son do this again. And so I heard some stuff. The first one is which makes total sense, that the vocal sounds very tuned. And I don't know if that's a production thing on the original one too that you were going for, but the one thing I would maybe look at to fixing the auto-tune feel of it would be just slowing down the transition time to each note. It sounds like things are very like kind of vocoded and jumping to the note really fast, so you might be able to get that a little bit more natural if you slow down that transition into the notes. But it might not need to be natural either, and you're going for it, in which case, awesome. Cool. So I'm sure that Tom and Sonic had some really good notes on this as well. I think the first kind of things that jumped out at me was the kick and the vocal both sit on top of the mix more than all of the other instruments. And then to some degree, all of the rest of the drums also sit on top of things. So I like to think of balance and things in terms of like layers front to back, kind of moving like that. So if I were listening to this, I'd say like the vocals here, the kick drum is back here a little bit. The snare drum is back behind that. And then we got like toms, and then we kind of have the rest of the instruments. And it feels like things need to kind of come together a little bit more and glue together to be part of the same mix. So the vocal thing, well, first I would say like the kick can come down a touch, and then once that's kind of balanced in, so I would try like muting the vocals, bringing the kick back into the rest of the band, and just seeing if you can get a nice blend there where it doesn't feel like it's sticking out. If you're not hearing this in your speakers, check out headphones or listen to some other source to see if you can hear the kick drum kind of leading in front of everybody. It could be very much a room thing. The low end, like the sub and all of that stuff, feels like it's a little bit much. Like if you're on smaller speakers, it's hard to hear some of that stuff. So just check out, try like a lower volume as well, like mixing at a lower volume and just seeing if you can kind of make that sit a little bit better. The kick is also nice and punchy, but it's punchier than the snare drum. The snare is kind of like flat and living back behind it to me. So just work on the relationship of those two. And then once you kind of have that sorted out, I would try bringing the vocal back up and into it, because I think if that kick comes down, where you decide to put the vocal is going to change, and you'll probably be able to bring it back down a little bit back into the mix. The other thing I would try with the vocal feels very heavily compressed, which again kind of makes sense, especially with younger singers or like, like not toddler, but like, 6 to 10, like you're saying, like in that range, they don't have a great dynamic control. So compression is, necessary to kind of like glue all those words together. This one feels a bit heavily compressed to me, and like it's de-essed into a bit of a lisp as well, kind of like our other track before. So I would see if you can loosen some of that up and make it feel a little bit more natural. And then also, again, try that parallel compression trick of like just having another copy of the vocal that is smashed, and then like having a clean copy or a lightly compressed copy that's just kind of there for control but not overly smashed, and then bringing that up into it. You get a nice like present vocal that'll sit on top of a mix, but it doesn't suffer from feeling like it's being slammed on and having the life sucked out of it as much. I felt like the toms could use a little bit more mid-range. They feel a little bit scooped and unnatural to me, and also a little dark. So it might just be able to come from like bringing up some of the top on them a little bit. Not extreme, just like adding a little bit more presence to them, and then seeing if they need a little bit more mid-range as well. Yeah, I think that just some balance checks and a little bit of work on the compression, and it's all going to feel pretty good. So awesome. Thank you for submitting, and thanks for joining the live stream today. That's awesome. Let me put my little comment here, and we'll go on to the next song. Okay. Oh, nice. One person is asking if anybody wants to share multi-track, so you guys should link up in the chat and see if you guys want to swap your multi-tracks to each other. Okay. Really cool comments from everybody else in here too. And just seeing if there are any more tracks to check out. Open Time by Purple Joe. Purple Joe, Purple Joe. All right. Open Time, version 3. So it says, hello everyone. What do you think of the kick and the snare and the presence of the bass and the voice? Let's check it out. Something I'm going to point out right now that's interesting. I hear a lot of the beater attack from the kick. It's moving between the center and the right speaker for me. So that's just something for everybody to listen to as we go here. This could be due to like a multi-mono compressor thing. Just it's triggering differently and changing that the image a little bit. So moving along. Hey, you're welcome, Thomas. Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you, Joffrey, for putting this in. That was great. Open time and OCS. Yes, great. Okay. And yeah, let's check it out. So Karen says on this one, the voice is a little boomy and distant. Snare is very different compared to the other instruments. Guitarists are thin and loud enough when there's no vocal. Okay. So, all right. My comments are... cool track. And first off, I love the distortion that's on the drums. I think that is super cool. I don't know if that happened when you were tracking it or if you were adding that in the mix, but it feels really, really cool. And it matches the style and all that, which is great. My biggest thing is tuning, but we'll put that aside for a second. And I just want to talk about balances. If you put your monitors down at a really quiet level and listen to it, the differences in level, this is kind of like, this applies to some of the other tracks we've listened to today too. The differences in level are way more apparent than if you have it even at a medium or like reasonable level and you're listening to it and exciting the room more and all of that. Things naturally kind of blend together when there's more volume and more room involved. And even in headphones, if you're exciting, your ears and all that stuff, things kind of like naturally compress into each other. If you bring it down to a lower level, you start hearing things separate. And if they're, a little bit out of balance and stuff. So on this one, I brought it down maybe like 40 dB or something like that. I have a readout on this monitor controller, but it's not entirely accurate. I was listening around like 65 and I brought it down 20 from there. So there you go. But anyway, bringing it down, the guitars were on top of everything and poking out of the mix. And then once in a while, like drum fills and stuff like that would kind of come out. But overall, just balance wise, this is why people spend so much time at low levels in the Puremix videos too, like at the end of the mix or for a good part of the mix. You want to get like the vibe and everything when you're mixing, and you want to not necessarily that you were nuking yourself, but you want to have it up in volume so that it feels good and it's exciting and it's fun for you to work on. And then for a large portion of the mix, you need to work at a very low level to kind of hear this sort of stuff. So like a lot of times when people are writing vocals in the Puremix videos, and I do this a lot, I'll listen at a very quiet level and I'm writing the vocal in there. And then I'll turn it up to a medium level and I'll see how that automation stuff worked. And maybe I'll write it a little bit and then I'll check it again at the lower level and just kind of make sure that all feels good. But this mix specifically, when I bring it down to a low level, I hear the guitars kind of popping out. So I would say work on the balances a little bit with that. The next thing that is the biggest deal to me is the tuning on the vocals and the guitars. Now I want to start with the guitars because that informs the vocals later on in the process, right? Like if you overdub the vocals. The guitars that are recorded on here have intonation issues in the guitars. So it could have been that they were in tune, because once in a while I hear them in tune and then they fall out of tune and all that. So I don't think it was just that you were out of tune. I think like there's some intonation stuff going on with the guitars, and for that I would suggest don't try to kill yourself with like using Melodyne and all that. I would just recut them and maybe have like a guitar setup done. Make sure you're tuned. I tune between every single take. I'm really annoying in sessions because we'll be between takes, and a lot of times, almost every take, I'll ask the player to retune the guitar just to be sure. Because if you hear things starting to waver, it can just cause havoc down the line. So I would say recut those guitars and then recut the vocals, because the vocals are out of tune as well. But it's extremely hard to sing an in-tune vocal when you have guitars on the left and right that are wavering in pitch from each other and throwing off your pitch center. So I would fix the intonation stuff that's happening with all this, and then worry about if you pull out Melodyne from there. So if you fix all the guitar issues and you re-sing it and you still want to tune the vocal from that, great. But I would say like fix those guitars, because there's some parts, especially toward the end of the song, where things start wavering so much that it's a little, it's not, I don't want to say it's like irritating. It's not the most out of tune thing I've heard, but it becomes a little distracting, and it's like I can't listen to the song because my pitch center is being pulled around from it. Other than that, yeah, again, I love the distortion. The drum fill at 3 minutes, I love that you went for it and like made that super loud. It sounds a little phasey to me, like left to right, like it's got a widener on it that's just kind of like overextending it, which makes it feel a little bit disconnected from the mix. But I also love that you went for it and pushed it up. So maybe just check it out and see if it's all cool. And then from there, I agree with all of Tom Foolery's comments on there. Tom also works for Puremix and comments on almost everybody's songs. I know all the ones that he can, and he's always got great advice. He's Fab DuPont's assistant as well, so always great things to say there. But yeah, I agree with a lot of what he said. But yeah, I would consider, if you can, retracking those guitars and then looking at the vocal from that. So, but I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on here, and yeah, I hope that helps. Purple Joe, I love your name. Or this is Onosius, but maybe the band is Purple Joe, and I love that. So cool. Thank you for being here, and thank you for submitting. Okay, let's see what we got. Primetime. Primetime says, Mark, this is how I feel inside. Uploaded yesterday, version 05 with a cleaner ending. Awesome. I know this song. Let's see here. Grab that. All right. Here we go. Boom. And okay, from Primetime Robots. So this is how I feel inside. Hello, music lovers. My second mix here, version 05, and thanks for the members for the advice. Let's see. So gave your kick a little more high mid. The end of my mix ended on the beach with a lot of sea noise, but I've now given the noise some rest and made the ending more complete. Let me know what you think. Thanks for your ears. All right, let's check it out. Here we go. I'm going to pop it in HG. Gotcha, Dance Kit. Thanks for submitting.
You said you love somebody else. I can't do a thing about it. I should only blame myself. Yeah. You set my heart upon the shelf as if you would come back. I doubt it. 'Cause you only love yourself. Yeah. I got a heart-shaped hole coming out of my chest. I give you something more, but there ain't nothing left. I loved you more than life, but you left me for dead. Yeah. Just wanted you to know this is how I feel inside. Loving you is suicide. This is how I feel inside. Loving you is suicide. Loving you is suicide. Loving you is suicide.
There's something popping right there, so I just wanted to call attention to it while we're here. Check it out.
You said you love somebody else. I can't do a thing about it. I can only trust myself. Yeah. 'Cause all the years, all the fights, all the tears, baby, they will never dry. All the love, all the lies, all the pain really made me feel alive. I got a heart-shaped hole coming out of my chest. Should give you something more, but there ain't nothing left. I loved you more than life, but you left me for dead. Just wanted you to know, this is how I feel inside.
I'm going to comment on this right here. Let's listen to this transition one more time.
Nothing left. I loved you more than life, but you left me for dead. Just wanted you to know, this is how I feel.
Okay, everything you're doing there is awesome, but it's all stealing away from the vocal, and not in a way that you need to get rid of it, because it's freaking awesome. Great edits. I love what you did there. The stutter stuff is cool. Very creative. You're the man, Primetime. But I'm listening for just wanted you to know the groove of that, his rest before the downbeat of the chorus. That chorus explodes because he goes, just wanted you to know. Boom, right? So your sustained thing that's happening kind of loud and on top of the vocals is stealing away from the groove of that, and from him giving us that like pullback and then dropping the one super hard. So let's listen to that one more time.
I love you more than life, but you left me for dead. Just wanted you to know this is how I feel.
Yeah, so just the lyric there, it's you know, in the exception of like a remix or something, which this isn't a total remix, you just done some really creative effect stuff and vocal production on it. The most important thing is going to be the lyric, and when he's saying "This is how I feel inside," that's the name of the song, that's the title of it. Like, I want that to be he's the star, right? Like more so than the swells and everything. So that's a super important thing, and that's something I've heard up to this point. We're going to listen to the rest of the track in a second, but up to this point, all the effects and all of the ear candy and all of that stuff is awesome. I'm not necessarily saying take any of it away, but the vocal is the star. He's the star, especially on a pop tune like this. He's got to be up front, the most important thing. You're there to make him look like a god, right? Like he's got to be Thor or whatever. So let's check it out, the rest of it. Yeah, this is super cool. I want to listen to this last chorus one more time because I think you got some really neat stuff happening. Yeah, I want to comment on the kick drum sound. This track was produced by Angel Lopez, who works for Timberland now, or is a part of Team Timbo and does a bunch of stuff solo too. But that kick drum is very Timberland sounding to me. And if you check out like Super Duper Fly from Missy Elliott, I'm trying to think of like some other good Justin Timberlake, the Crazy Sexy Cool record, I think it is, with Sexy back on it. Like those are classic like Timbo kick sounds. And that was kind of what it feels like Angel was getting at here. And I think that you're doing a nice job of that. And I kind of want to hear it punch like a little bit more, but the high mid stuff that you have, that you kind of bring out here feels good to me. Awesome. Let's see what else here. The guitars are a little bit plucky too, so kind of like they have too slow of an attack with too much compression on them, similar to some of the other stuff we've heard today. But once in a while, the pick sound is a little bit louder than the tone of the guitar thing that's happening. I kind of like where you have it sitting. It's just a little bit plucky at times. And there's that whatever's happening on the one, there's a clip happening in there or something that's causing distortion. So watch for it. Yeah, I think overall, like, this is really cool. And again, like, you've added some awesome stuff in here. It's just about making him the star of it more so than the production tricks and all of that. So I think that's the biggest thing I have for it, and everything else you have a great grasp on. Like Tom said on here, you have a good grasp on the tones in this genre. I totally agree, and you certainly like sound like you know what you're doing here. So there's not a whole lot else. I think like the approach, if you re-examine that approach a little bit to it, and then put another one up, I'd love to hear that, because I like all of the interesting stuff. I love that you went for it, that you added things, that you were creative with it. You weren't just, putting it up and balancing it. Don't change. You're awesome. But I'd love to hear like one more approach of it, of just making sure like you're honed in on him the whole time and making him, awesome. Sweet. Let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, Great Fox. What's up? Good to see you. He's got a little suggestion there. Cool. Good comments from the community as well. So, all right, let's see what else we got going on. we hit This Is How I Feel. Let's see. Okay, Wonderland by J. Camillo. Okay, let's see. I got your username now, so we'll try this one again. Got it. All right, let's check it out. Wonderland by J. Camillo. Thanks for being in the live chat. Appreciate you being here. And let's check this out.
Early morning wakes the town, people gathering around as I'm looking out the window. Little children everywhere.
Just going to comment as I go here. So there's obviously a lot of noise on that vocal that's coming in, like you can hear where you cut space in between the lines, and then the top end hiss comes back in here. So Isotope, great at cleaning that stuff up. See if you can remove some of that noise, so it's not as distracting. It's actually a little bit louder than the vocal itself, so it pulls your attention away from the emotion of the vocal. That's very intimate and makes me listen to the noise. So let's check it out from here.
Children everywhere, sunlight sparkles in their hair, running round and round in circles.
Cool effect.
And they go wherever they want to, on the land and the deep blue sea. They build this.
Okay, I want to talk about these background vocals. One, like, awesome arrangement, super killer. There's Sonic commented on this too. There's some boxy qualities when they come in. So let's listen to them one more time, and I want to give a tip for this.
And they go wherever they want to, on the land and the deep blue sea.
Okay, this stuff, it sounds to me like it's in the low range or low mid range, like 160 to 300, somewhere in there ish. I don't know. Not sure exactly, but a tip would be if you have something like the stock Digidesign EQ or Avid EQ that's in Pro Tools, or like FabFilter Pro Q3 is great at this, the stock Logic EQ, any EQ that you have that's like, parametric, put a band on in that range, do a very sharp bandwidth or sharp Q on it, and then boost up a bunch and move the point around, the frequency point around, until things just get crazy, right? And then bring it down to 0, listen to it again, because now you're dialed into what it sounds like crazy and you could overdo it. And then just bring some down until you get some clarity from it. This is called masking. It's just like resonance that's built up. It's resonance building up from, it could be same singer on the same mic, singing the same part, or sometimes singing a different part, but those frequencies all start to bunch up, and they almost have the same effect of feedback in a PA system, where things just start ringing and sustaining out, not in a natural way. And if you solo one of them up, it doesn't sound the same. But basically all of that stuff is stacking on top of each other, and it's all kind of masking things. So the background vocals that are spread out really wide, it's having some of that going on. And if it's cleaned up, it's going to be really cool, because the arrangement's great and the vocal tone's great. You sound wonderful on this.
Wherever they want to, on the land and the deep blue sea. They build this incredible masses, the planet demises, it wants to be free. And in the end, it's always you and me.
I'm not sure if it's the internet or if there's a edit here. I think it was the internet. I think we're good. I'm going to pause here. I just want to echo Tom's thoughts here about the drums. This is totally a taste thing, but the drums have like the big like arena snare drum thing to me. The toms are really wide. But your vocals have like a Crosby, Stills and Nash thing to me. And I want to hear like this dry 70s kind of tone on the drums. I want everybody to kind of live in that space. It's reminding me of that thing, and that's what my ear was expecting, I guess. But it is completely a taste thing and not necessarily correct. So if you like the big snare and everything, go for it. I would love to hear what this sounds like with this like a tight drum kit in the center, and just making room instead of like the drums being overly exciting, them just holding the pocket so that all this beautiful harmony can happen that you've arranged here. And yeah, I love the song. This is really great so far. Let's keep going. And if you went that way with the drums, something like that guitar line that just happened, having less verb and maybe a little less high mid to it, would kind of be the same vibe. Like just overall, like a warmer. I'm like seeing the sunset sound rooms in my head for some reason while I'm listening to this. And sorry for throwing out the stereotypical like Crosby, Stills and Nash thing because you're a guy who had multi-part harmony. But that's basically what's going on in my head. It's just I'm hearing that time period and I'm wanting to like put it in that box. But if you're stretching the box, that's awesome. So here we go.
Sometimes it really feels full. And they know wherever they want to, on the land and the deep blue sea, they build this incredible masses, the planet demises. It wants to be free. And in the end is always you and me. Please hold the train to Wonderland. It's so cold, like I've never felt before. And it grows in me like sweetness invading my senses and freeing my soul, freeing my soul, freeing my soul, freeing my soul, freeing my soul.
Okay, that bass line melody is amazing through the end here, and it's making me go back even more to that like 70s sound thing because I think I'm hearing like Tuesday's Gone with the Wind from Skinner or something like that in there, but just because of that melody, it just makes me think of that. It's not the exact melody or anything, but the guitar solo that happens here, very wide and slow attack on the compressor because that transient is sharp. So let's listen one more time to that. Yeah, I really love this song, like a lot. Let me hold on here. Let's see. Sunset Sound, Studio 3, live room. Let's see. I want to show you a picture of this room that I'm seeing. It's not room 1. It's room 3, this guy. I want to hear this song in this room. if that makes any sense. I'm not saying like go get the IK multimedia plugin and use that room specifically on this thing. It's a useful tool, but that's not really what I'm saying. I'm saying like look at this picture and then mix this song in that room, if that makes sense. That would be the vision I would have in my head of hearing this. I don't know if that's useful or not, but it was just going on in my head. I really, really, really like this song and would love to hear another take on it. But on what's going on here, I agree with a lot of what Tom said on here. Sonic had some great comments too. And then just the stuff that I said kind of along the way. Great job on it. And I hope that that's useful in some way, but mostly I just love the song and that like it put me in a great mood. So thank you. Thanks for submitting it. Cool. Karen had a comment. She says, I can't figure out which is the lead vocal. It sounds like all the backing vocals blended at the same level with the same effects. I would agree with that. And I think it's kind of cool that way. Again, I think that they could be tighter. Like if it was, I think that that's kind of like the Crosby, Stills, Nash thing again, but like where it's all just kind of a blended chord. I think that that's kind of neat. But yeah, if you mean to have a lead vocal, somebody's got to kind of step forward a little bit, just if you mean to have that. But great song. Thanks for submitting. That's awesome. Let's see if anybody else is in the chat with a song. All right. Open time. We got open time from Purple Joe. Okay. I did think the kick might have been a bit boomy. Maybe a hair, but it was kind of down in the mix too. I didn't feel a need to comment on that. Okay. So I think that we hit the end. If anybody else put a song in the comments that I haven't gotten to yet, let me know. And I'll hit it. I don't think I missed any. Maybe this one. Let's see. I missed this one. Okay, Ramo from the name of the song is Ichaluff. Hi everyone, I'm working on this mix for a friend of mine. I feel the song has more potential to be bigger and wider. I'm struggling to add more clarity. Let's check it out.
De wegwijzers vervagen en...
Oh, hey, sorry. Primetime. The plugin was IK Multimedia Sunset Rooms, I think is the name of it. Anyway. Sorry to cut this off. One comment from this so far, the wood block thing is really, really loud, and it would make me turn the song down. So if you need it bigger and wider, something that sticks out like that has to kind of come back. Here we go.
De wegwijzers vervagen en dit pad lijkt eindeloos. Ik ben verzand in mijn verleden. Een zijweg ingeslagen die ik gisteren ook al koos. Ik tuimel steeds weer naar beneden. Maar hier, toen ik thuis kwam voor de al...
Okay, a couple comments really quickly. The vocal sounds pretty compressed to me. I would like try parallel compression on the vocal. And then it also feels on top of the mix to me. So bringing it down to low level, everybody's really quiet compared to the vocal. Not really quiet. It's not like insane, but try bringing your monitors down and listening to it where it sits in relationship to the rest of the instruments. And I've said this 1,000 times on here, so sorry for everybody that's seen it before, but I think a balance in terms of depth. So close being the loudest thing, quiet being a farther thing. And the distance between the synth and the vocals and everybody is pretty far. So I would just try to like bring things in focus a little bit more. This camera is pretty awesome for that, because if I get something close, you know, I go out of focus or whatever. So it's kind of like that in balancing too. So here we go.
Ik ben verzand in mijn verleden. Een zijweg ingeslagen die ik gisteren ook al koos. Ik tuin nog steeds weer naar beneden. Maar Heer, toen ik thuis kwam voor de allereerste keer.
Yeah, vocals loud here.
U mij niet gemeden en weer werp ik mijn afgedragen vodden voor u neer. Geef mij nieuwe kleden. Ik geloof in de weg tot de eeuwigheid. Ik geloof in een hart van goud. Ik geloof in een deur die geopend blijft. Ik geloof in een God van trouw.
Yeah, so just to comment here, I feel like things are plenty wide. You said like you want the song to feel bigger and wider. The wider thing I think you're good on. As far as bigger goes, I think if that vocal is more connected to the rest of the track, it would make you want to listen to the thing louder, which is going to feel bigger, if that makes any sense. So I think it feels small because the vocal is a little bit detached from the mix. But wider, I think you're pretty good on the width. Let's keep going.
Mijn voetstappen vertragen.
Uh-oh, we're reloading. Oh, man. What's happening? What are you doing to me, Mix Tank? I think I'm on my way to heaven. Everything just got really white in here. I don't know if you guys are seeing that too. No, I know you are, but let's see. I think that the vocal's a little too loud. Let's see. It's all preference, but okay, here we go. We're back. Let's check this out here.
Mijn voetstappen vertragen en mijn benen voelen broos. Mijn knieën Mijn voetstappen vertragen en mijn benen voelen broos. Mijn knieën heb ik beurs gebeden. Ik blijf mijn doel najagen, maar geen schot is in de roos. Ik ben zo goed als moe gestreden. Maar Heer, toen ik terugkwam na die allereerste keer, was u mij niet vergeten. En weer val ik gebroken aan de drempel voor u neer. En u deelt met mij uw eten.
Karen says my microphone is much louder than the mix levels. Just saying. Uh-oh, I need to turn down my mic, it sounds like. Let me know if I do. That's awesome, Karen. Okay, there's a low-end thing happening in here that's throwing me off a little bit that I wanted to comment on.
Mijn voetstappen vertragen en mijn benen voelen broos. Mijn knieën heb ik beurs gebeden. Ik blijf mijn doel najagen, maar geen schot is in de roos. Ik ben zo goed als moe gestreden, maar Heer.
There's something happening in the subs where when the bass hits or when the kick hits, I'm not sure, but I'm hearing like a kind of like a slam down and release on the notes from like a compressor releasing there. And I'm not sure if it's a sub of it's bass guitar, but it sounds almost like a sub bass down in the bottom of the track. And it's thicker than the kick drum. So I'm just going to keep listening. Here we go.
Een schot is in de roos. Ik ben zo goed als moe gestreden. Maar Heer, toen ik terugkwam na die allereerste keer, was u mij niet vergeten. En weer val ik gebroken aan de drempel voor u neer. En u deelt met mij uw eten. Ik geloof in de weg tot de eeuwigheid. Ik geloof in een hart van goud. Ik geloof in een deur die geopend blijft. Ik geloof in een God van trouw. in het land dat vrijwillig lijkt. Niets kan mij scheiden van zijn liefde. Ik geloof in de zon die de angst verdrijft. Niets kan mij scheiden van zijn liefde. Ik geloof in de rechter die voor mij pleit. Niets kan mij scheiden van zijn liefde.
I love your distorted vocal. It feels like it's at a nice level with the track, but the lead vocal is so loud to me that it feels just like it's quiet. So I don't think I'd say bring that up until you bring the lead vocal down, but then listen to the relationship between those two. I want to comment on the kick really quick. Yeah, Daryl, great comment. He enjoys how the bass and drums are locked in on their hits. Gillian says he's not on studio monitors at the moment, but the kick is almost not to hear. So commenting on the kick, the bass is soaking up the kick drum. It's got a lot of sub information going on in there, and it's just masking over the kick. So I would consider looking at the tone that you have on the bass and seeing how much of that sub you feel is really important down there. If you make some room for the kick drum, it's going to feel more punchy, which might give you more impact and make the track feel bigger. The other thing with all that sub information is it's kind of like slowing the track down a little bit. It feels just a little bit more sluggish. But if you like the bottom of the bass, then I don't think I would change that. But what I would do instead is consider doing a sidechain compressor on the bass guitar from the kick. So when the kick hits, it just brings down the bass for a second and lets the kick punch through a little bit more. That way you could kind of like leave the bottom end of the track, the duties of that up to the bass guitar, but you could still get some punch from your kick drum by just taking a compressor, like, you know, I'm sure you know how to do the sidechain thing, but doing a sidechain compressor and just letting the kick just kind of like notch the bass down whenever it hits. All right, here we go.
Ik geloof in de weg tot de eeuwigheid. Ik geloof in een hart van goud. Ik geloof in een deur die geopend blijft. Ik geloof in een God van trouw. Ik geloof in de weg tot de eeuwigheid. Ik geloof in een hart van goud. Ik geloof in een deur die geopend blijft. Ik geloof in een God van trouw.
So just checking you at a low level again here, the snare drum is also a little bit louder than the rest of the track. And then the vocal is sitting on top of that a little bit. So again, I just say, like, check this out at a low level and see if some of those things poke out to you, and if like bringing the fader back a little bit is going to help out with that. A lot of times, I've talked about this, I'm a broken record here, but I use the snare as a reference for how loud the vocal will be. If I want the vocal to be the most important guy in the song, I'll usually like figure out where my snare is, and then the vocal kind of like sit in front of it. Or if the vocal needs to kind of be like back and a little harder to hear, I'll put it right behind the snare drum. So in this case, we've got everybody else, snare drum, lead vocal. So I think like these two guys need to come back, and then you just kind of got to decide. Being the nature of the song, I would lead it a little bit vocal forward, but totally preference. I mean, you have it led vocal forward right now, so I would assume that's what you want. Here we go. Some really cool synth stuff here, and somebody commented that they really like the motif of the song. Same, isomatic. I would totally agree with that. The melodies are amazing in this. I would look for some more moments and like interesting textures, like that synth that we heard at the end doing the pulsating thing, not the arpeggiated guy, but the pulsating like lower tone. See if there's some more cool synth tone texture that you could bring out in this, and maybe make those parts a little bit louder, because there's some neat tones in there. The only other thing I had was that I felt like the the snare and the toms are a little bit papery, like sounding like a lot of 400, 500 kind of feel to them. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's subjective at that point. If you like the tone of them, leave it alone. But it felt like there might be a little bit going on there. Same with all of this, of course. Everything is subjective. So, Ramo, thank you for submitting this. And I'm sorry that I completely botched the pronunciation of the name of the song title. All right, let's see what else we got here. So, Jez Spencer said he just uploaded Waited Too Long. I'm going to check it out. And I think we're going to wrap up there after that one. Okay. How's the overall balance? Let's find out. Here we go.
We are gonna have a party, and we're not gonna stop until the sun has died down. And we are finally gonna be free, free to laugh and dance for as long as we want and can be. And we are gonna light the night, let the body take flight, imagine having a party. No, we're not gonna break, no, we're not gonna take no for an answer.
Okay, I want to go back a little bit. The bass that just came in threw me off a little, threw my ear off. So hold on one second.
We're gonna have a party, and we're not gonna stop until the sun has died down. And we are finally gonna be free, free to laugh and dance for as long as we want and can be. And we are gonna light the night, let the body take flight, imagine having a party.
Yeah, my perspective totally shifts on that when that section comes in. So in this section, let's listen one more time.
Free to laugh and dance for as long as we want and can be.
Okay, so I love the tone of the kick and all the other stuff. I feel like they're all a little bit dull. The vocal feels a little thin to me and a little dull as well. So not sure what's going on that they all have the same kind of top end to me. But I do love all the tones that you have going. I just feel like they need a little bit more presence to them. When we go into this other section, the new bass that comes in, so like the vocal level changes, the bass sound changes and everything. Let's listen to this section now.
And we are gonna light the night, let the body take flight, imagine having a party. No, we're not gonna break, no, we're not gonna take no for an answer. And we are gonna.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear some more top on that snare so it smacks a little bit more. I love the kick. The new bass that comes in is more present and louder than the vocal, which makes the vocal feel like it went down. The piano felt like it came up a little bit. I think that things need to just kind of be rebalanced in this section here. Let's keep going.
Light the night, let the body take flight, imagine having a party. No,
Love the freaking parts though. Oh my God.
we're not gonna break, no, we're not gonna take no for an answer. 'Cause we have waited too long for this day to become a reality. And we are gonna have a party.
that other snare or the other synth in there that's going the bum 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 bum. That thing, bring that guy up, and that the sawtooth bass is stealing away from that. But there's an awesome patch in there and an awesome texture. I like the sound design that you did on it. I want to hear it more. That's super cool. I think a big part of the things to adjust here is just in this sawtooth on this part of it. Thank you, Karen Bassett, for pointing out it's a sawtooth. I was just calling it a bass. Here we go. Okay, I love the effects that you're doing here. I want to hear them come up toward the end of the note. So like bringing that, leaning into it. So like you already have it there, just lean into it and like bring it up with some automation and swell us up into this new space. Also, I don't know if you can, if you did the compression on the piano or if it came in like that, but a less compressed piano would definitely feel more natural here. It's just kind of getting like pulled down and smaller, where like this section feels like it needs to be open and airy and breathing and all of that stuff. And it feels like it's kind of being held down in shackles a little bit. So here we go. Yeah, great groove on this. Here it comes! Here it comes! Oh! Okay, I want to comment on this. I was really excited by this riser, or by the riser, and then that bass note hit, and then everything got smaller. We should have been like at the peak of the song right there, and I should have been freaking out and like throwing my desk and pushing my microphone over and raving at that point, because we went through that riser so long. So let's listen to that one more time and just see what happens here. Yeah, I just wanted to feel like it got bigger there, and it felt like it got smaller. Now, where there's no vocal here, that sawtooth is kind of neat. Maybe still a little loud, but it's cool. Yeah, so that's I think that sawtooth bass, which is being discussed, being discussed in the comments a little bit too. I think that is the biggest thing that's going on here. It's just that guy feels a little loud. I like it more when it's over here. It still feels a little loud, but yeah, the other thing, it might feel cool with something like microshift on it or like a 910, like an H910 on it, just to like give it some width. But I also like the mono feel of it too, so take that with a grain of salt. Maybe it's something to try. But yeah, the vocals, I would do some work on those vocals. Again, they need to be the star a little bit more so. In this vein, we need like, driving rhythm and all that stuff, but the vocal's still very important. I think that you're really close on a lot of the effects and stuff. There's a lot of great stuff happening here. You got to watch out for this riser guy, because that hit is awesome that happens after the riser, and then the chorus goes down. So I want to hear like the riser going up, and then you could even do like a master bus, or your two bus, whatever your final level is. You could do some automation on this, however you route your stuff, but do some automation on that. They used to call it like the slippery fader, or they still do, but bring it up on the riser, like slowly automate it up, let that big bass hit thing happen, and then push it up again for the chorus so that we climb more. So just so it, continues to get bigger and bigger, not so it gets really, really big, huge, and then small as we go out through the chorus. So that one's really important on there. And then otherwise, I think that you're super close on this, though. It's going really good. I hope that all of that is useful. I think you did great. Thank you so much for submitting it. That's great. Some people were asking about vocal mic. That might have been on a different song. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Welcome, Witchleaf. Cool. All right. Does anybody else have a song that was in the chat? Maybe we could do one more song. Gillian asks, is this the job of a pro? It looks like it. You're welcome. Yeah, thank you, Jazz. Thanks for submitting this and all that. I hope it's useful. And I think that might wrap it up, unless I missed anybody over in the chat. I don't think I did. There's a song that I did a terrible job of pronouncing the name of. And I think that was it. Yeah. Great. Okay. So just a reminder for everybody, again, like if you didn't see the beginning of the stream, new video with Michael Brauer coming out on Friday. His entire in the box Brauerized technique. You're very welcome, Ishu. Thanks for submitting it. Ichaluff. Did I get it right that time? I'll work on my Dutch. I think it was Dutch. I'm just gonna stop talking. Awesome. So new video Friday, Michael Brauer, his template in the box. You get to download his template at the end of it and try it out for yourself. And yeah, I will see you guys next time in 2 weeks. So that is going to be, I will check the date right now. 2 weeks from today would be the 26th. I'll be back on the 26th. So 2 p.m. Eastern on the 26th. We'll be back for Mixed Tank Live. Michael Brauer on Friday. Fall sale starts next week. It's a great time to up your subscription or sign up if you're just kind of watching. And beyond that, one other thing, on September 30th, our massive Snarky Puppy series is coming. I'll talk more about that on the 26th, but it's going to be pretty epic. If you Google Snarky Puppy Empire Central, we did a documentary on the entire recording process of that record, which is, if you don't know Snarky Puppy, it's about 400 musicians packed into one room. It's like, it's about 14 maybe. But yeah, everybody's in one room playing at the same time. It's incredible. It all happens in front of an audience, and that is their record. So look up Snarky Puppy if you don't know them. Great series coming up with them September 30th. I'll talk more about that on the 26th, but this Friday, Michael Brauer. All right. So thank you everybody for submitting your mixes. Thank you for being here. I forgot to say it, but if you haven't, like and subscribe. It really helps us to figure out what content to keep on doing as we're going forward. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks so much. Bye guys.